All right, ready first. Early morning podcast here, talking about lessons learned from company Sticks and Live Fire. It's going to be a three-part series: plan, prep, and execute. Some of it will be repetitive from part 1 and 2 that I shot during the field problem, but it's really meant to go along with this that I sent you as a lessons learned from planning, prep, and execution. And so you can either follow along with the checklist or make notes to jog your memory from our AARs. Okay, so planning. First thing you'll see on there is breach math equals smoke. As we discussed, the limiting factor is the amount of smoke you're going to have when you conduct the breach. So start with that. Let's say you have 14 minutes of smoke. That's how long you're going to have to obscure the objective so that you can do the reduction. And then backwards plan from there. That's your limiting factor for your planning. Next, actions on the objective. I need you to plan those actions on the objective, starting with where you want to consolidate and reorganize, and work backwards across the objective, where you want your javelins, where you want your 50 cals. And just like Battle Drill 33, one javelin position enables another. So you're going to have to then backwards all the way to the LD, where you want to position forces to enable the next position to be secured. We're a striker-based organization. A 50 cal defeats us. If we don't get our javelins up, our support by fire in position, we'll never get to the objective. So continue to start at the objective and move backwards just like you've always been taught. Consolidation and reorganization. During the planning phase, you need to plan that as a defense. Where are the battle positions going to be? Where are you going to orient direct fires and indirect fires, as well as intelligence, to prevent a counterattack, and really just to get all of your forces back together so that then you can continue the attack. Tempo. You, as a company commander, control the tempo of the organization. Your graphic control measures, the excitement in your voice, whether or not you are positioned with one of your platoons or overwatching their maneuver entirely. Each of these decisions that you make will control the tempo. Remember, I've trusted you to dismount your strikers in accordance with the enemy's situation. I trust you to do that. Just understand that now you're controlling the tempo for the brigade in the brigade fight. Next, graphics. You have to plan checkpoints or TRPs beyond the objective, on the objective, to your left flank, to your right flank of your boundaries, and throughout your zone. Use these to orient fire, communicate the direction of travel, or give spot reports on the enemy. But unless you have graphic control measures throughout the width and breadth of your zone, you're going to struggle, like many of you saw, trying to articulate your intent through the use of grids, which just confuses people in a time-constrained environment. Next, echelon of fires. I think across the brigade, we understand the echelon of fires. From 155 down to your 7.62, you understand that. Go from big to small based on the risk and the enemy situation, and also the intent that you want to accomplish on the objective. What we didn't do very well is transition between those. So when do you want to increase the speed of movement and decrease the speed of movement to enable the transition between 155, 120, down to 50 cal Mark 19, 7.62, and then ultimately 5.56 on the objective? How are you echeloning those fires and controlling that at the company level so that it's based on the effects that you want to achieve on the objective to enable our infantrymen to fight as few enemy on the objective as possible because we've already shaped it. IV lines. Many of you saw here at Fort Bliss, and we're going to see the same thing at Fort Irwin. If you don't clear those IV lines with dismounted infantrymen from the back of the striker, you're going to find yourself surprised on the other side of the high ground. You got to clear those. And Battle Drill 33 will allow you to do that. Every time you stop, short halt, long halt, or at an IV line. You get somebody out of the back of the striker with a clue. They can be a team size or a squad size. You make the call, and they clear the IV line, or they secure you locally, or they cover the move of their sister unit. So, sir, we talked about a little bit on the breach math, but you as commanders need to articulate to your force, what is suppression of that objective? What does that look like to you? So that they clearly understand when they've achieved your intent and can report that back to you. Obscuration, we talked about smoke, but HE and artillery delivered smoke provides sufficient obscuration on the objective so that you can then secure and reduce. Reduction. You need to have multiple redundant reduction systems in place so that if the MICLIC is lost, if the truck carrying the Bangalores breaks down, what are your multiple redundant systems for that reduction? Because with only, let's say, 14 to 20 minutes of smoke, we don't have a lot of time. We got to get that right the first time and have a backup plan. Fragos. Many of you were not giving task and purpose when you were fragoing the mission on the move. You did a very good job of saying, this is what I want you to do, but it's better when we use doctrinal terms, task and purpose. Next, terrain models. You need a large terrain model that you can walk on, and then a blow-up of actions on the objective. That's the standard. Many of your terrain models were too small, and you saw how that hindered you. Our orders process works. Troop leading procedures will give you a achievable, acceptable plan. But in a limited, time-constrained environment, you need to have an orders process that really focuses on task and purpose, graphics, scheme and maneuver, concept of the operation, and the logistics plan to support it. Battle drills. We, in some cases, are not proficient in all battle drills. I need you to continue to work that. Right now, the biggest one we're struggling with is Battle Drill 6. So continue to focus on your battle drills across the formation. Planning the defense, dig time, and then standards for dismounted positions. You need to include that in your planning process and make sure that everyone understands what is required for both of those. Hide positions in the defense. Our enemy's going to use them, and we need to use them because we will put artillery on the enemy's defensive belt, and they're going to put artillery on ours. So plan for those. Plan for survivability moves as well in the offense. Have graphic control measures that allow you to move your formation about every 10 minutes to avoid enemy artillery. Risk mitigation in planning. Many platoon leaders and many of you company commanders did a great job of identifying risk, mitigating that risk, both tactical and accidental. I don't care if it's on a CRM worksheet. Go through the process of identifying risk and mitigating it. And I think those of you that did it saw the benefits, and those of you who didn't pay the price. Okay, company orders. You need a standard packet, something that at 3 in the morning with 1 hour's sleep, you can put together a cohesive order, whether that's fill in the blank, whether that's carbon copy paper that you write it and hand it out. You find the technique that works best for you, but you have to have a standard order packet. COIST. Some of us are not using our COIST to their full capability. Make sure they're involved in identifying the enemy's battle position, individual vehicles at your level, two-man fighting positions at your level, so you can articulate that to your platoons. They should be building the terrain model for you, and they're really trying to pull all that together so that you as the commander can now deliver the operations order in a cohesive manner, focused on a single enemy. And what's the Fister's role in planning? The Fister has to tell you what assets you have available, and then plan fires throughout the width and breadth of your zone. You should be coordinating with your mortars. So those two are joined at the hip, so that if you need lightning, which is 155, that the Fister is pushing that through. If you need thunder, 120s and below, that the mortars are set and everyone has a common understanding of the fires. Next, planning for javelins. Briefly discussed it. Plan where you want your final javelin position to be to take out the mounted threat on the objective and work your way backwards with overlapping fields of observation and fires from the LD all the way up to the objective for your javelins. That's the game changer for us. Next, you heard me talk about direct fire, indirect fire, and terrain enable us to get to the last cover and conceal position before we have to IMT. During your planning process, you need to plan your direct fires, your indirect fires, and how you're using terrain to enable that. Recovery. You got to plan on recovery. You're going to have a vehicle break down or get shot. What is the plan and where is it going? And if the first sergeant doesn't have a good plan for that, now we're just towing it or we're leaving it on the battlefield, which is unacceptable. Get it back to a maintenance collection point and be done with it. Let them fix it and then we can get it back in the fight. All right, EA development. I'm going to go over this Thursday, the company commander PT. But I need you to come with understanding the 7 steps of EA development. And we're going to, following our PT session, we're going to dive pretty deep into this. Just 4 more. Movement technique and formations are dictated by the enemy and the terrain. You as the commander need to ensure that everyone is tracking what formation, what movement technique you want to be in, and then use graphic control measures to control that based on the probable line of contact, likelihood of enemy forces available on the battlefield. Your sit temp. Once the COIS comes up with individual vehicle positions for you in a 2-minute fighting position, as the assault reports come in either from the battalion scouts, now your plan changes a little bit, so you have to update your sit temp. Have your XO do that for you. So that they're confirming or denying the sit temp, and then that may change your friendly plan based on enemy situation. So you got to continue to update throughout, and I didn't see a lot of that. And last is scout integration. The battalion scouts as well as the cavalry squadron were out there for each of your lanes. And as they're feeding you reports, that's going to change your plan. So then it ties back into a lot of other things we're talking about. Okay, so how are you giving task and purpose? What graphic control measures needs to be updated, etc. But you have to include that because that's the most timely and accurate information. Don't get wed to your plan. Identify the enemy and come up with a plan to defeat them. All right, next we'll cover the company sticks, lessons learned from preparation. Ready first.